The Monster High live action movie was fine. Okay, in all seriousness, I really debated making this video because this particular subject is just so contentious, and talking about the Monster High movie just really brings out some absolutely terrible people I've noticed. And contrary to this rough, burly exterior that I present to you all, I am actually quite sensitive and I don't like getting hate comments. But I don't know. I'm a doll channel. This is a doll movie. It would be weird to avoid it entirely. And I do feel like since the movie has actually been released, the general public, at least those who have actually watched it, have softened up to it a little bit. That said, it is a low budget children's movie aimed at young girls, so that means we have a few days before this website is flooded with adult men calling it the worst thing they've ever seen, and we get the fashion girlies pulling up their dolls kill mood boards to restyle it. So, I don't know. I guess I want to say my piece. Like, obviously, anyone should be able to make videos over whatever they want, even if they're not a fan, even if they just have a passing interest. Please speak your heart out. That's what this website is for. It's just that when doll things like Monster High or Bratz get pushed into the mainstream, and you have these big YouTubers making videos over how much they hate these movies or how terrible they are, then that prompts their viewers to come over to my videos and also my fellow doll YouTubers. And we end up getting the brunt of that hate and that negativity when we're literally just over here minding our own business with our little plastic women. And I don't know, it's not their fault, really. It's not really anyone's fault, but I guess I'm saying that I don't want that to hinder my enjoyment or my content. But on to the movie. Before I start talking about it, I do want to mention that although the big discussion surrounding this movie has gotten a little out of control, not all of it is necessarily unwarranted, particularly aimed at the director, as there are some concerns with casting decisions of actors who have skin tones lighter than the characters they're portraying or are from different cultural backgrounds. The director's past body of work, one of which includes a movie from 20 or so years ago that was criticized as being highly racist towards indigenous people. If these are things that hamper your enjoyment of the movie or make you not want to support it in any way, I understand. As my viewers, I do ask that you listen to Black, Native, or Egyptian voices speaking on this. I'm not the one you need to listen to on this particular subject. And in the end, the decision is yours. However, I am of the opinion that a movie is a sum of its parts. There are so many other people working on this who are having their work presented to us. Young actors who are extremely talented and deserve to be seen. Designers, artists, etc., who shouldn't be held responsible for things that were completely out of their control. And that's something you might disagree with me on, and that's fine, but it is important to mention either way. The movie itself, I'm probably going to break this into two parts. One section that's non-spoiler, where I just talk generally, and then a spoiler section where I talk more about the plot. And I feel like that second section is going to be a little more critical, because my issues with the movie are more centered on plot and storytelling. But we'll get there when we get there. I've never done like a movie review before, so forgive me if this is a little rambly and disorganized. But I think the first thing I want to say is that this movie is a reboot, obviously. But none of my personal criticisms are going to come down to, oh, this character doesn't look like they used to, or they don't act like they used to. Because they're not supposed to. They're new characters, basically. This movie is the transition period between the previous generation of Monster High and the new generation. Maybe it would have been better if Mattel waited on the live action movie and let people get more adjusted to G3 before putting out a new movie, because it is just like a lot of new information right out of the gate, and I understand where the confusion comes from. But the fact is, it's a reboot. It's new, and you don't have to like it, but it's just not a valid criticism to say that the movie is bad because it's different. It's just not. So, aesthetically, this movie was pretty perfect. I do think the CGI was definitely hit or miss, but I'm trying to remember the last time I watched a kid's movie, or any movie, really, and thought, wow, that CGI was so amazing and realistic. It wasn't distractingly bad, it just wasn't great. It did its job. But the set design, the styling, just the world they created for this movie was so well done. And the fact they were able to put it together with the time they had is really impressive. Especially the set. There were just a ton of really cool details. It really felt like a fully realized world. The costumes, I thought, were also pretty well done, which I guess is like sacrilegious to say because that seems to be where most of the criticism for the movie comes from. But no, like the outfits were genuinely really, really good. Particularly Frankie and Jackie Laura's looks. They were so perfect. Like basically every single scene I found myself saying, oh my gosh, they look so cool. What a cute outfit. They look so good here. Could it have been better overall? Probably. There's definitely some improvements that could have been made, but speaking as someone with a background in costume design, you know, as an expert and authority on this subject, kidding. But perhaps that's why it's easy for me to see where costume limitations are due to time or budget, and not because the designer's vision was lacking. I can tell that a lot of the costume pieces were sourced or bought rather than custom made. I imagine that was just an easier workload for a short production time. But the fact they were able to track down as many outfit pieces as they did that look as perfect for the characters as they do on the limited budget they had, genuinely, I'm really impressed. Oh, and the wigs. The wigs were really good. Excellent wig work, really. Descendants could never. I do have some complaints, though, mainly with the extras, the ensemble. No easy way to say it, but their outfits were pretty bad, like distractingly bad in a lot of cases. During a musical number, I could only pay attention to like Marge Simpson there in the background, but I understand why they prioritize the speaking characters. I also wish that Claudine specifically had more variety in her outfits. They were all kind of the same silhouette of purple, jacket with fur on it, shirt with crescent moons, and a form-fitting skirt. Not a bad look, but there could have been more. There was one scene where she was wearing like a fur vest and flared jeans that I thought was really, really cute. She was also wearing the same necklace in like every scene, and it was just not a cute enough necklace for that. Maybe it was the only gold, vaguely moon-shaped necklace they could find in time for a shooting. But if that was the case, maybe they should have included a scene of like maybe her dad giving it to her as a birthday present, so she has a reason to wear it throughout the entire movie. But I don't know. I'm nitpicking, I know. Oh, also the fact that the script was clearly written in mind with Deuce wearing sunglasses, because there's so many lines about not being able to see his eyes clearly or him not being able to look people in the eyes, but like his glasses are clear. We can see his eyes fine. Maybe it was a safety concern for his actor to have his vision impaired on set or something, but I don't know. That bothered me. But yeah, overall, a really good job. Also, since it was a musical, obviously we have to talk about the music, and I did like the soundtrack a lot. I think it fit with the vibe of the film really well, and the cast is extremely talented, more than I expected, honestly, which, to be honest, my expectations were not that high, but I am very, very impressed with the cast. They have a lot of star power, both singing and acting wise. I can definitely see them all going on to bigger productions after this. I think, performance-wise, Draculaura's actress, Nia Damison, really stuck out to me. Just the way she carried herself and embodied the character in musical sequences was so excellent. Also, her voice is amazing. She did an amazing job. And for acting, oh my god, CC Balagot did such an amazing job as Frankie. He has such a knack for comedy and timing and everything, honestly. They were probably my favorite part of the movie. Just pick any scene with Frankie in it. That's my favorite part. And Claudine's actress, Mia Harris, she did a really good job too. She was in, I think, basically every song that was performed in the movie except for one. So she put in a lot of work here too, and it really, really shows. She has a really beautiful voice too. So, story-wise, without going into spoilers, I would say very okay. It's very predictable and kind of awkwardly paced, but watching it, it did give me the vibes of like the G1 Monster High movies. Tonally, it was very similar, and I can absolutely see this becoming a fun, campy Halloween tradition movie, like Halloween Town or Twitches or something. Because it's not perfect, no, but it is definitely fun. I very rarely say this about movies, but I do think maybe it could have used an extra, like, 20 or 30 minutes, because it does feel like it was just missing a chunk. I think as far as establishing the setting of Monster High and how the school and this monster world operates, that was really well done and easy to understand. But there were other things where I was just kind of like, did I miss something? But no, it just wasn't really explained. Like, the movie mentions Claudine's mother a few times, but it doesn't explain where she is or what happened to her. It's mentioned that Deuce and Cleo had broken up, but it doesn't really explain why or what they were like as a couple. And onto that, Deuce has a bunch of lines like, oh, I used to be so disliked and I was going down a dark path, but it doesn't explain what he did or what kind of person he was. And this is all stuff that would have only benefited the story and added more context. There was no reason to leave it all so vague. And certain characters, they just didn't get a lot of screen time, even though they were treated as main characters in the promotional materials. They only got 1 or 2 lines and didn't really contribute to the story. So I honestly think just a few extra scenes of like filler of establishing the secondary characters and giving them more screen time would have really improved the movie, I think. That said, although I don't think the overall story structure was put together super well, the actual writing was really solid. The dialogue, the humor, all of that was really well done. And a lot of that is thanks to the actors' performances too. So overall, I would say it's good. I have complaints, because that's what I do, but I had fun watching it. I think it captured the Monster High spirit really well. I think it was a good introduction into this new generation, and that's all I can really ask for. So that's where I'm going to cut it off for the non-spoiler section. Everything from this point forward, I will be discussing the plot. So if you want to watch the movie before hearing all about it, pause here, go watch it, and then come back here. Otherwise, let's get into it. So, my biggest complaint with the story, again, it just comes down to character screen time. I just felt like so many of the characters were so underutilized. Like, Gulia and Abby, I understand why they weren't super heavily featured. Their inclusion really felt more like an Easter egg for older fans. But Laguna and Heath were treated like main characters in advertising and like were just not in the movie at all. I honestly think Gulia and Abby had more screen time than them. I did not like the romance between Deuce and Claudine. I just did not see the chemistry there. I did not see how it added to the story at all. It was just so unnecessary. even if it did give us one of the best songs on the soundtrack. I did like the little hints of character development we got with Cleo. Again, I just wish there was more of it. She didn't even get a song. Like an emotional ballad of Cleo singing about being misunderstood, or even how much she misses Deuce and regrets the breakup. That would have added so much to her character and the story. Again, it just comes down to feeling like I'm missing some context. And I get it. It's a kid's movie and all. But I feel like these are the same exact questions I would have asked as a child, you know? But overall, I think the first 2/3 of the movie was the best part. Getting to know Claudine, her becoming friends with Frankie, and the two of them also befriending Draculaura was a lot of fun. They just have such a nice dynamic as a trio. The first 2/3, I really don't have a whole lot of complaints about. So, to avoid repeating myself, I think I'll just say my biggest complaint comes down to the climax. There were just a lot of things that were brought up that didn't really have a payoff. Like Bloodgood asking Claudine to write a speech for the Founders Day thing that was meant to honor her mom. I thought that would have went somewhere, but it didn't. Claudine did not touch a single word of that speech or any schoolwork at all for this entire movie, I'm pretty sure. Cleo's switch to suddenly liking everyone was very abrupt. Seeing her be friends with everyone in the finale was pretty cute, though. And the thing with Komos, as soon as I saw him in the advertising for the movie, I knew he was the villain. Like, it was never a question. And I will say, his actor gave the performance of a lifetime in that role, and I am very appreciative of it. But the finale where everyone gets together and defeats him is so all of our quote-unquote main characters are there. The main trio, Cleo, Laguna, Deuce, Abby, Gulia, and Heath. Draculaura gets a pass because she's injured. Deuce gets turned to stone, okay. But no one else, literally no one else does anything. They don't even speak, they just stand there. I don't know why they were even included in that scene. The more I talk, the more I realize it sounds like I didn't like this movie. But I did, like genuinely, I enjoyed it a lot. It's just easier to put into words what I didn't like. You know, when a movie's good, it's like, yeah, it was good, it did everything right. But when something is off, it's a lot easier to specifically identify it, I guess, if that makes sense. So if I do sound overly harsh, that's probably why. However, the finale, the actual ending, I thought it was really cute. I thought the message of the movie was pretty good. I loved seeing the main trio's character arcs kind of come to fruition. The ending song was really good. So although the climax was not great, we did end on a good note. And we got a sequel hook. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see that coming up soon. So overall, I give the movie like a solid 7 or 8 out of 10. Because it's not perfect. But I have never tuned into a Monster High movie expecting the cinematic masterpiece of a lifetime. That's just not what I'm looking for. And for a live-action, direct-to-streaming movie musical based on a children's franchise, my expectations were already non-existent. But it did surprise me. I had fun with it. I know kids and this new generation of Monster High fans are going to have fun with it, and I look forward to it becoming a Halloween tradition in my household. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you think down below. Did you love it? Or did you hate it? Either way, I'm glad you're watching, and I look forward to hearing all about your thoughts on it. And when you're done with that, just be sure to like and subscribe for any future Fashion Doll content. Thank you.